Good morning from Toronto. This is John Kyo, and I'm delighted to start off the series of what we call the Future of Food 10 by 10 CEO interviews. And today I'm delighted to have with me the industry veteran, Sean O'Leary, CEO of FoodlogiQ. Good morning.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. And I believe that you're not long with FoodlogiQ. What has the journey been like?
Well, it's been fantastic. It's been 6 months, but as you know, as we say in internet years, that's probably closer to 6 years. But it's been pretty exciting. I'm super excited to be part of something that I think is having a big impact on the world, and not just changing the way the food industry manages our food supply, but improving the opportunity to solve some key issues that can have a very dramatic effect on people's lives.
That's right. And you work today with some of the household name brands in solving some of their problems. Can you talk a little bit about those brands, the ones that are public at least, and what types of issues that you're helping them to solve?
Sure. We work with some real household names. Tyson Foods is probably one of the largest food companies on the planet, and I think they supply everybody that we get food from. And then on the grocery side, Whole Foods is one of the largest grocery chains and probably one of the most innovative in the world. So, and both are great customers who have been part of the FoodlogiQ journey for a while. But we also are working with a lot of other brands, and some of the largest, I think we are in 13 of the largest 50 quick serve restaurants in the US, and 5 of the largest 10. And without naming too many names, I will say that, one of the things that's really interested me in this as I started my journey here with FoodlogiQ was the reality that this industry is very behind with regards to leveraging technology to solve some core supply chain problems and ultimately some food safety problems and challenges that they have. I've kind of formulated a bit of a theory around that, and I think it's kind of twofold. Part of it is I don't believe the large software technology companies have really focused on the food industry as a vertical per se, and I think they've not delivered the amount of technology that they might have delivered to other industries like finance and manufacturing. And secondly, I think the industry has been slow to adopt software technology to manage some of the business processes. They've been great on the technology side relative to agriculture and farming and production, but a little slower on the operational side, supply chain and supplier management. So it's a phenomenal opportunity for a company like ours that are solving these problems with technology while they're continuing. And I tell you, John, I'm really surprised every time I speak with some of these large companies that they're managing their suppliers and they're managing their food supply chain with pencils, paper, clipboards, and spreadsheets. And spreadsheets being the most technical part of what they do. And unfortunately, the problem's just way too big. It's too complex. The challenge is too complex for food traceability to leave it to that type of a manual process. So there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity for seismic improvements in the whole supply chain effort, and then the ensuing impact to our food safety and consumer safety.
Right. So within that context, do you think data quality is important for the food industry? And what do you think about the role of GS1 standards to help improve data quality? Because I believe personally and passionately that you're not going to be able to implement technologies unless you get the data quality right. What are you seeing?
Yeah, that's super important. I've been on the data side this is my 4th time as a software CEO, and all 3 companies that I helmed prior to this were all data companies, and 2 of them were data quality specific companies. And you're right, data quality is super important relative to this. However, I think with regards to GS1, and I didn't understand prior to joining the work that GS1 was doing, but once I got on board and started understanding the scope of the challenge, I realized very quickly that that was probably the perfect solution at the right time. it is super critical if we're going to understand our food supply and understand how it flows through the supply chain, and the reality that our food goes through multiple transitions and sometimes transformations as it gets moved from the farm to the table. And depending on whether a restaurant is buying tomatoes and chopping them up and putting them in salad, or a grocer is buying tomatoes and selling them whole in the produce aisle, that food is moving through a lot of hands. And so having data around the transition and the transactions related to the food flow is critical, but that data has to be standardized and it has to be normalized. If I'm going to collect that data into a system similar to the system that we built here at FoodlogiQ, and if I'm going to be able to do any type of analyzing and any type of analytics and tracking and extracting any type of artifacts that are actionable in terms of the way I manage the food, the way I monitor the food, the way I remove the food when there's an incident, I need to have a standard set of data points to work with. And GS1 128 absolutely provides that, and it's super critical. So when I think about data quality, I think about, is the data structure correct? Is it duplicated somewhere in the system? And is it standardized and normalized? And GS1 has done that with a very complex industry, and certainly the food industry is probably one of the most complex industries relative to the level and scope of products that go into products, right? So when you talk about ingredients, now you get down to a very complex level of inputs to one particular data field. And GS1 has done a great job of standardizing that. I don't think that we could do traceability the way we're doing it today or the way we want to do it in the future if we didn't have that standard in place. It's absolutely critical. It's not completely adopted. I believe it will be. I believe this will be the way the entire world looks at this 10 years from now. But there's still a long ways to go because there's a lot of work to adopt it. So we are really pushing hard, and quite honestly, our platform won't work without GS1. So we require all of our customers to require their suppliers to get on board, and they do, and they have, and it's exciting to see that.
Fantastic. I'm happy to hear that as an ex-GS1 executive myself, and I'm very passionate about independent, neutral standards that also protect the integrity of industry solutions, but also the GS1 standards enable interoperability between different companies and different solutions. And of course, they enable traceability and recall. So in the area of traceability and recall, what are you seeing and hearing right now? Is there a renewed emphasis on getting traceability right? And are industry thinking about doing mock recalls to make sure that they can practice in peacetime, and when they have a problem, they can execute flawlessly?
Absolutely, yes. They are. The industry is a heightened level of awareness, and I think part of that comes from social media's impact of communicating when there are issues. Part of it comes from the federal government, FDA, CDC's focus, and so needing to do recalls and needing to be able to do traceability has become not a need, not a want, but a need. What we do with our customers is we provide them the services, but then we absolutely built into mock recalls into the process. So you have to test this. You can't just put it in place and wait for an emergency and hope that it works. You have to test it on a regular basis. So all of our traceability clients do regular mock recalls across their platform. We've built that in as a critical feature so that you can actually do it without having to disrupt your entire supply chain. And you can continuously test. So absolutely critical that you make sure that these things work before you have an incident.
Wonderful. And in the last minute and a half, I got probably one of the juiciest questions ever. Is blockchain the answer?
It's not the complete answer today. I hope in the future that it will be. I think it's very early in its evolution. But I've been through multiple evolutions of technology, from client-server architecture to the internet just getting started and people saying websites were a fad. So I think it will be, but today it isn't. There are certain things that you need to do that it wasn't built to do just yet. And I think that folks who get complacent and feel like it's synonymous with traceability are going to take a little longer to actually get traceability solved. So there are ways to solve it. We solve it today. We can track food back to the source within minutes and hours. And so our customers need to use the technology that's available today to do mock recalls and to make sure we can do it. And then in the future, hopefully blockchain is going to improve that exponentially, but I think it's probably 2 or 3 years out.
Fantastic. Sean, you got 30 seconds. You're in front of 50 startup food companies. What is your guidance to them with regard to the usage of technology?
Please take it seriously. These incidents and the challenges we're having are not only important for the safety and health of our community, they're important for the safety and health of your business. If you have a food incident and you're trying to track down how it happened with papers, pencils, and going through filing cabinets, you're not only going to miss, but you're going to lose a lot of your customers. So this is an important issue, and please look at it digitally.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much to Sean O'Leary, the CEO of FoodlogiQ. And Sean, I'll circle back with you sometime in the near future. I wish you and FoodlogiQ continued success on your journey. And thank you so much for spending 10 minutes with us this morning talking about technology and the food chain.
Thank you, John, and thank you for all the work you did with GS1. You were at the front end of solving this problem. Thank you.
Thank you.